Hey guys, Miyabi's coming out in a couple hours and I wanted to make this very important video. I need to get this out there so that proxies don't throw their gear away. It's not gonna be like well edited or anything like that, but it's gonna be accurate. It's gonna be very informational, more than anything else you'll probably see out there in terms of her gear. I got all the math, the evidence. This is not clickbait, guys. I have been doing account reviews, countless account reviews, and out of all, a lot of people come to me asking if their Miyabi, what can they do better? How can they min-max it, right? This is a min-max video from Miyabi. As I was saying, I do a lot of Miyabi account reviews, and out of all the Miyabis that came for help to improve their Miyabi from the rank 1 Miyabi himself, only one viewer amazed me. He had a 95 out of 100 Miyabi. Most people are around like in the 50s or within the 70 percentile when I rank them. And now I've seen like the 20 percentile, like people with defense slot 5. I see some people coming to me with 50% crit and like 70% crit damage. So let's fulfill her core passive here. This is not gonna be like a ultra beginner Miyabi guide. It's gonna be medium to advanced. So let's get this out of the way, get that 80% for her core passive. Now, as your Miyabi gets into like the 50 percentile and you want to invest a lot of stamina into min-maxing her, let's say you love the shit out of her, right? You want to vertically invest a lot into her. Then what you want to do, the first mistake that I'm noticing is that you guys are throwing away pretty good discs and spending way more stamina than you should when you already got a good one and you're trying to farm. You spend a couple thousand more stamina to farm a replacement that's literally a downgrade sometimes. So if you're confused what I'm talking about, I'll explain it throughout the whole video, but this is the starting canvas. This is my Miyabi nerfed down a little bit. Yes, as you're seeing, they are pretty good rolls as you're seeing on the discs, but it's not, once again, it's not like, I wouldn't say this is like, this is very good, but this is like what you should kind of like shoot for. If you do want to min-max, once again, you're gonna pour the love into your Miyabi, right? I have better, I nerfed it down, guys. I didn't put any like +5s. So what I'm trying to say is this is pretty end game, highly invested Miyabi, right? It has a lot of balance. There's crit damage, attack percentage, substats, and as you can see, this is the substat value, and this is my stats in combat. So the reason why the sites like PrideWin and the Google Docs and stuff that you guys link me on Discord, why they're incorrect is because a lot of them don't factor in a lot of conditions like the teammates, their gear, as well as the setting. People look at their record clears and they don't really think of the context. So we'll put that all in this video. All right, so the first team, I did the test in game and I did the math, which checks out. Is 1-to-1 almost, like a couple quick assists are missing, and yeah, like the deadly assault boss behaviors as well as the buffs, you know, sometimes it changes, right? It goes from heavily favoring attack percentage, sometimes it's damage percentage, sometimes it is gonna be damage percentage with crit damage. I narrowed it down to a couple of popular teams as well as Yuzuha, who is coming out in a couple hours. So Miyabi, let's go. Miyabi Astro Trigger, all M0R1. What if you don't have M0R1, right? What if you have other, don't worry. So starting with M0R1, slot 5 Miyabi with the ice damage, it's damage for short, right? It has diminishing returns with other plus damage sources, additional, and it performs worse than pen ratio. So she likes the penis, I mean the pen ratio. So slot 5 pen performed 1.45% better with the disc substats that I showed you guys with the main stats, right? And I showed you guys the stat value of, that's the stat value of this composition, right? Miyabi Astro Trigger M0R1 with the damage percentage, right? The stat value changes if you change, of course, like the main stat on slot 4, if you go with crit damage, attack, or crit percentage. But yeah, just trust me, I did the math, it all checks out. All right, it all checks out. So anyways, slot 5 pen ratio is better by 1.45%. The number on the right is without woodpecker 2-piece. We go with the puffer, the pen ratio 2-piece, and that has a little bit less damage, 2% less damage, but it has higher DPC, right? So damage per cast, damage per sequence, cycle. It has a higher ceiling, but of course you're gonna have less DPS because you're not critting as often. You're critting 8% less. So we went from 89 to 81% crit, and because she has a lot of crit damage and all of that stuff, she really likes crit. Everything else in this game has a lot of diminishing returns. So obviously in terms of DPS, crit's gonna outperform pen ratio 2-piece. However, pen ratio 2-piece is gonna outperform crit chance, this nobody explains this, when you have a fight where you're fishing for a speed record, right? Or the fight is short, or where you're playing a lot of Miyabi and you switch to like Yanagi, so she doesn't have that much DPC, she's not casting as many skills. So in that case, if you're speed running, you're trying to do 10,000 runs to get that perfect clear for TikTok, wherever you want to post it to your mom, then you want to go with like the 2-piece pen ratio over the woodpecker, as long as you have her core passive met. The thing is, if you're a normie that don't want to do 10,000 runs or fish every week, every deadly assault, then you could just go with the woodpecker. Remember I said that people throw away their discs when it's already well rolled? Well, one of the reasons is because they think that you can't go above 80, or like some people recommend not going over 80%. They think there's like a hard cap or something. There is no hard cap, first of all. And if you go over 80%, like I just showed you, you still increase your DPS overall. Another thing that people do with their disc is that they get a disc with attack percentage, crit damage, but they throw it away. They think it's not that good because all they heard was like Miyabi 1's crit damage. So you have a +2 crit, +1 crit damage, and +1 attack. But you throw that away for a +2 crit and +2 crit damage. The previous with the attack could be better, as you're seeing with M0R1 Miyabi, full team M0R1. Attack percentage in this case is beating out crit damage. And for the 2-piece, what's the best 2-piece? If you're fishing for that perfect attempt, Puffer is going to beat attack percentage in this scenario. Now, what about Miyabi Astra Trigger? But Trigger does not have signature Wenjin. Does that change her slot 5, the behavior? Because we're removing the defense shred from Trigger's Wenjin. So let's go to Steam Oven, right? R5, and it's still the same, right? It's still the same as you're seeing. Slot 5 damage percentage loses to pen ratio by 3.46%, and still attack percentage is beating out crit damage. It's almost like 1-to-1. What this means is that don't undervalue attack percentage. Miyabi still likes attack percentage, but you don't want to like overdo it, as you'll see. Like if you have too much attack percentage, then crit damage will be favored. If you have too much crit damage, then attack percentage will be favored. Of course, crit is on top of all of that. One of the ways I made my Miyabi more consistent is going from 80% crit to like 94% crit without losing the other substats, right? We're trying to min-max, trying to get everything. You want to get the vitamin A's, the B's, you know, the C's, not just only eat the C's, like I'm saying with my viewers. Now, what about Astra without her signature Wenjin? So Astra goes Bashful, and Trigger also with the Steam R5, so both Trigger and Astra, simply put, they don't have their signature Wenjin, they have the free-to-play alternative. Still, pen ratio wins out by 2.61% over damage percentage, slot 5. And I also did Fusion Compiler. Fusion Compiler, same results. But for Fusion Compiler, that's when the crit damage swings in favor over attack percentage, but not by much, as you're seeing, not by much at all. When I do go over to Fusion Compiler, the way I did the math for this is just replace slot 4 from crit damage, and I changed it to crit percentage, and the substat, I kept it the same, but I removed, of course, the crit chance, and then I swapped that to crit damage. If you're getting value out of this video, if you like this kind of content, make sure you guys hit the like. We're gonna do a Miyabi Yuzuha giveaway starting this Friday. Back to the video. Free-to-play friendly team, Miyabi, Lycone, Sukaku, the Mono Ice team. So slot 5, pen ratio beating damage percentage by 2.46%. And I seen some Google Docs saying go attack percentage on slot 4. So I also did that with cracked substats. So attack percentage is close, but it loses to crit damage. And crit damage, slot 4 is a little bit easier to farm in my opinion. The 636, that is the 2-piece. So they recommend 2-piece pen ratio, but it is losing to the woodpecker. But I just explained that. It's not losing that far behind, but it's still losing. If you want more consistent results, then get that crit from 81 to 89. Then going for pufferfish. Pufferfish are for folks that want to do a lot of runs, or the runs are short and they want to do speed clears. They're fishing for that. All right. Same thing here. Attack percentage. The stat value, substat value here, attack percentage is beating crit damage, and that's because of her signature Wenjin. Puffer 2-piece is better than attack 2-piece if you're fishing for the runs once again, but woodpecker wins overall, as I just explained. Now, what about Fusion Compiler, Miyabi, Lycone, Sukaku, keeping it the same because they're using free-to-play friendly Wenjins. And for slot 5 damage, it still loses to pen ratio by 2.61%. Now, because we dropped her signature Wenjin, crit damage is winning over the attack percentage, as you're seeing here. but once again, not by much. Attack percentage, even with M6R5 Astra, even with a full M6 team, fully cracked like my Miyabi, right? Attack percentage still has value. Anyways, next, Miyabi, Astra, Nicole. In this case, it's going to be attack percentage winning. Attack percentage winning overall by 1.54% over the damage percentage. And this one, you have to control your crit, right? Because Nicole provides crit debuff. Debuff is not a buff. So it's not going to help Miyabi's core passive. So you don't want to be over crit, but you want to be above 80% crit. And in this case, you can kind of go with the 2-piece attack percentage here over the 2-piece puffer. Attack percentage wins out, and attack percentage is a little bit less than crit damage in terms of the substat value, but it is once again very, very close. What about Fusion Compiler? Fusion Compiler is this time pen ratio wins, even though Fusion Compiler has pen ratio. So pen ratio is winning, but barely. In this case, I think it's so close, it doesn't really matter. Get the one that has the best substat rolls. And on the right hand side, I dropped Astra's signature, and as you can see, I went with the Bashful Demon, P5, R5, and in this case, damage percent won out. See, this is what I'm saying, guys. Like, it is so situational, depending on the Deadly Assault buff, depending on your team composition, depending on your investments, how much you have in terms of signature, or what this drives as well. Like Astra is using Astra Voice, Nicole Freedom Blue 4-piece. A lot of the guides are either incomplete or they just don't have the math to back it up. It just in their head, right? They just look at like record runs only. It doesn't tell the full picture. Next, we have the new kid on the block, Yuzuha, Miyabi, Yanagi, with their signature Wenjins, M0R1s. And in this case, pen ratio still wins over attack percentage by 2.77%, and it still beats damage percentage as well. So pen ratio is good. And if you want to drop the Woodpecker 2-piece and you want to fish for record runs to show off to your mommy, then 2-piece puffer is better than attack percentage here. And in terms of attack percentage, substat value versus crit damage, attack percentage wins by barely a little bit. As for the Fusion Compiler Miyabi here, it is going to be, once again, pen ratio, but this time winning, wow, right? Winning by almost 5% over attack percentage. Not that much difference between damage percentage, but pen ratio does win out. And in terms of the 2-piece, if you want to drop down your crit, fish for a good run, puffer is going to beat attack percentage. But once again, if you guys want more high consistent results in terms of DPS, I would shoot for like 88 to 94% crit rate. If you look at DPS meter, DPS simulations, and DPS calculators, it's still gonna favor crit because she has so much crit damage, and other stats being just so easily accessible, whereas crit not really. So if you want to min-max, those are the information in front of you. At the end of the day, what is the take-home message? Like I said, crit above 80% will give you more consistent results. 80, 90, 94. Even after that, in terms of in-game results, as well as in calculations, simulations, meters, crit rate is going to be more consistent, more smoother runs. However, if you want to fish for, once again, better records, then you want to bring your crit down a little bit. Go with the pen ratio 2-piece or the attack percentage 2-piece, as the calculations I've shown before. When it comes to the substat rolls, don't sleep on attack percentage. Don't throw this away just because you got +1 to attack percentage and you didn't roll crit damage. When you make love, when you give love to Miyabi, you want to grow everything kind of evenly, okay? Especially if you have a signature Wenjin, all right? If you have the Fusion Compiler, as you see, crit damage does perform a little bit better than attack percentage. But yeah, that doesn't mean like just ignore all attack percentage either, okay? You want to kind of bring it all up together. All right, so that's the video. Hopefully it helped. If it did, make sure you guys smash the like and subscribe if you want content like this.